Stoicism has spread like wildfire in the top of the NFL ranks.
I've read 3 of Ryan Holiday's books.
By the way, I would love to be a Stoic, on the record.
Stoicism gives me the tools to be like, well, there's no use in thinking and obsessing about that because I can't control what's going to happen in the future.
I think if there was one book that I would read, it would be Marcus Aurelius' Meditations.
When you hear the word Stoic philosophy, you're not exactly primed to think of professional sports or Silicon Valley or Wall Street or global politics. Like, it's not exactly an appealing phrase in the English language. People think Stoic means has no emotion. They think philosophy means totally impractical. But that's not what philosophy was in the ancient world. The Stoics were politicians and artists and power brokers. Marcus Aurelius is the emperor of Rome. I'm Ryan Holiday, and when I started writing about Stoic philosophy all these years ago, I didn't think it would take me to the NBA and the NFL, sitting senators and special forces leaders. My publisher didn't even think the book would sell. They offered me half what I got for my first book, for my book about Stoic philosophy. But today, Stoicism is having a resurgence all over the world. You can see it in pop culture. You can see it in movies. You can see it on the sidelines of the college football playoffs. You can see it going viral on Instagram. You can see huge musicians talking about it, using Stoic philosophy in their actual daily life, which is what Stoic philosophy is supposed to be about. So in today's episode, I want to show you some examples of this modern resurgence of Stoicism, people who are using it to be better at whatever they do, who are doing what Seneca said Stoicism was supposed to do more than 2,000 years ago, which is help you be a better human being. There's this quote from Seneca, which I love. He says, if you don't know which port you're sailing to, no wind is favorable. So this idea of hitting the green lights, obviously you want to hit the green lights, but if you're going in the wrong direction, actually hitting the green lights is the worst possible gift you could get. So having a clear sense of what you want is essential.
Intentional and deliberate choice to go that way. And then I know for me, if we have that, then it's easy to dance and blow in the wind. You know, you create your weather, then blow in the wind. But I'm not for just saying, yeah, whatever, we're heading out. Well, wait a minute. I want to check the forecast. Where I am right now, maybe 82 degrees, but where we're going is going to be negative 12. Yeah, if I head out without checking, I'm going to be cold where I'm going. So let's just check out some general things and say, what should we be prepared for? What are the general rules of engagement that I'm heading into? And then be free to dance and go, yeah, I'm ready to do backflips with my eyes closed.
To me, the definition of Stoicism is that you don't control what happens, you control how you respond. Yeah. And that's what you have to do as an athlete. That's what you have to do as a parent. That's what we had to do last year in the pandemic, which is like, how do I figure out how to make the best of it? Because you can't quit.
Nah, quitting is not an option. That's one of the sayings I like to say is that, you know, failure is not trying to me. You know, not even trying, just saying, you know, whatever excuse you give yourself not to try. Anything you go after, you're gonna take some lumps, you're gonna take some punches, you're gonna get knocked down, you know. And understanding that, I understood after pretty much just coming up short and kind of having that pie in the face moment, and you know, knowing that I have to rebuild from that, and you know, hopefully get back to that level the next year, but accept, you know, whatever consequence comes.
It's scary. It can feel scary to be with your thoughts and feelings. Honestly, Stoicism and meditation have helped me the most in the past year. Like both of those, I feel like Stoicism is kind of like the cognitive reframing of stuff, which is so important because the tools that I get from mindfulness is the awareness of what my thought processes are. And I'm like, no wonder I have fucking anxiety because look how I'm thinking about this situation. Sure. And then Stoicism gives me the tools to be like, well, there's no use in thinking and obsessing about that because I can't control what's going to happen in the future. I can't control what's giving me more and more peace and more like authenticity when I do my work and when I write and when I do go to work on my craft is like that mental training.
There is a tension between life is short, memento mori, you could go at any moment, and the best piece of advice you give people, which is you've got so much time.
So much.
So what's the tension? How do you balance out?
Easy.
Life is
Ready?
short, you got time.
If you think life is long, it helps you in so many ways. If you happen to die suddenly, you wouldn't have known anyway.
Okay. Sure, it's the end of your problems.
Right? People are like, no, Gary, life is short. I'm like, good news. It's over anyway.
Yeah.
Like, if a tree falls on my head when I walk out of here, I'm not going to know.
Right.
You know, maybe I'll be up in heaven and be like, mother, I should have never went to Ryan's store. That was so stupid. We could have done it on Zoom on last Tuesday. I would have had 40 more years. Will the Jets ever win a Super Bowl without me? You know, that would be what was going on in heaven, right? My concept is practical. Life is long and you believe it, you get more patient, more thoughtful, happier, and life is good. If you're right, that life is short, well, when you die out of nowhere, you're not going to know anyway, so what the fuck are we talking about?
I think if there was one book that I would read, it would be Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. You know, especially in Washington, D.C., with all the political heave and ho that I try to keep Department of Defense out of, there can be a sense at times, my fine young cadets, that it's the first time anyone's dealt with something like X, Y, or Z. And certainly in combat, the reason I kept a tattered copy in my rucksack to pull out at times was it allowed me to look at things with a little distance. And so Marcus Aurelius had a very tough life. You know, he's the emperor of Rome. He's got everything going wrong in his home life. His wife and his son, who are not people that you'd want to spend much time with. He spends almost all of his time up on the fringes of the empire trying to protect the thing. And the one time he leaves the German forest seems to be to go kill one of his friends who's revolted against him in another place. I mean, it was a tough life. And yet the humility and the dignity with which he conducted his life, the commitment to his country, to his troops, really comes through as you read those pages. And while the name of the book is Meditations, if you were to get the real translation, it would be to himself. He's writing these chapters to himself because he knows he faces nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, one of my favorite Marcus Aurelius quotes, and I think it ties into to your message, and it's weird to think he was writing during the Antonine Plague, a plague that lasts for 15 years, and ultimately he ends up succumbing to it at the end of his reign. But you know, he writes, he's like, no, it's unfortunate that this happened, and then he says, no, wait, it's fortunate that it happened to me, because not everyone would have basically what I have. And he talks about sort of that strength is the ability to look at whatever happens and say, sort of, this is exactly what I was looking for. So like, how do you tell companies to go like, look, yeah, I know you just had to close 50% of your locations, or you've had to lay this amount of staff off, or, you know, you're not going to be doing live events for the next year and a half. How do they find in that what they're looking for?
I've had this very conversation with a bunch of different clients, and that is, well, you know, folks, here's what we can do. We can curl up in a ball and get under the covers on the couch and hide, or we can go on the attack. So what do you want to do? Do you want to go on the attack, or do you want to curl up in a ball and let the world fall apart around you? I say we go on the attack, and that's pretty much what everyone realizes they have to do. You have to say, okay, this is the new reality. This is what I'm dealing with, and this is how we're going to go forward.
Seneca has this thing that it's really popular when we post it on Daily Stoic, but I still struggle with what it means. He says, we suffer more in imagination than reality.
It makes me think of my meditation. When I'm meditating, I become extremely aware that thinking is almost a form of a disease. Thoughts pop up about, I've got to do this phone call, or, oh, I forgot to email that person, or damn it, that this interview is coming up and I don't want to do it, or blah, 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 blah. So much of the thoughts are anxieties that you're anticipating what's going to happen, right? If you can just control that, if you could just see that is the source of your problem, and that the world is indifferent to you, and that the circumstances are totally neutral, and that newspaper article that comes out, you can't control it, and maybe the bad stuff will actually in the end rebound to your favor, or it'll make you tougher, it'll make you realize certain things. If you can just see them as facts as opposed to like these horrible things inside your head, these phantasmos, whatever the Latin word is, then you've got the power.
If you want to learn more about Stoic philosophy totally for free, you can sign up for our daily Stoic email. It's one free email every morning, the best of Stoic wisdom, dailystoic.com/email.